All right.
Hello. Okay. Beef, poultry, fish, pork, and lamb are the 5 major staples of protein sources in Americans' diets today. But what we don't know is the ecological toll it takes on the environment to produce. Today I would like to highlight for you the benefits of a vegetarian diet. Many people ask why I'm vegetarian. The truth is I became vegetarian for a school project I did my senior year of high school. It was about why people become vegetarian, and I decided for research I chose to become vegetarian myself and experience it. Through the research and the experience, I decided that it was the way of life for me. That was 3 years ago, and today I can proudly say I still live a vegetarian lifestyle. Many people think a vegetarian lifestyle is a fad, and for some vegetarians that might be true. However, there are many people that have a method to their widely thought of madness. Today I'm going to share with you the effects meat production has on the environment, the expert statistics, and what needs to change in order to decrease this growing problem. The effects on the environment. Global demand for meat has multiplied in recent years, encouraged by growing affluence and nourished by the proliferation of huge confined animal feed operations. This assembly line meat factories consume enormous amounts of energy, pollute water supplies, generate significant greenhouse gases, and require increasing amounts of corn, soy, and grains, a dependency that has led to the destruction of vast swaths of the world's tropical rainforests, according to the New York Times. Also, the Americans eat about the same amount of meat as we have for a short time, about 8 ounces a day, roughly twice the global average. So us Americans actually consume way more meat than pretty much anywhere else in the world. With the demand of meat being so high, it is subsequently makes the demand of corn, grain, and soy even higher, which will contribute to more land being destroyed since animals obviously require a lot more of that than people do. And since livestock consumes around 2 to 5 times more of those sources of food. So if people were able to consume that instead of the animals, we would actually be able to cure a lot of the problems with hunger and everything, since there would be so much more of those resources available. Many leading environmental organizations, including the National Auburn Society, the World Watch Institute, the Sierra Club, the Union of Concerned Scientists, and even Al Gore's Live Earth, have recognized that raising animals for food damages the environment just about more than anything else we do. The Sierra Club said that the environmental violations by the meat industry add up to a rap sheet longer than the book War and Peace. According to the Environmental Defense, if every American skipped 1 meal of chicken per week and substituted vegetarian foods instead, the carbon dioxide savings would be about the same as taking off 500,000 cars off of our roads. And also, the researchers of the University of Chicago concluded that switching from a standard American diet to a vegetarian diet is more effective in the fight for climate change than switching a standard American to a hybrid. So what can we do to change this? The 2 most effective alternatives that they have come up with is, one is a more scientific method of being able to grow meat protein in a more nutritious environment in order to make meat, but without using an actual animal, or meat without feet, as they call it. The second, more natural way, and a better way in my opinion, would be to switch all animal farming facilities to actually free-ranging the animals would be allowed to free range on grass and out in the pasture rather than sitting in a stall, cooped up, eating grain and corn and soy, which is a lot healthier in the long run. However, this would make make the growing process a lot slower, since the animals would not fatten up as quickly, and decrease the availability of meat, which in the long run would make us have to eat less meat. However, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, since we consume somewhere between 50 to 75% more protein than we actually need to every day. In conclusion, if these extra statistics if they're not reason enough for you to consider, eating less meat a day, go out and research it yourself. It takes 15 minutes to learn something. So next time you have breakfast, bacon for breakfast, chicken sandwich for lunch, and steak for dinner, I encourage you to think about the effect giving up just one of these servings of meat a day could do for the environment.
Austin, go ahead. Tell us what you thought.
I thought that she had a really good topic, and I liked that she started by talking about her personal experiences of being a vegetarian. And I also thought she had really good sources, citing the New York Times and the Sierra Club. And then, as far as things that could have been done better, I think the background on the PowerPoint was unnecessary, because I think it distracted a little bit from the images.
All right. I like the visuals that you used to start with your attention device to lead us to the topic. That I thought was interesting, and you were very clear about what your topic was and how you were going to discuss it. It seems strange to me because the transition language that you used to the subject to the thesis statement really suggests that you're focusing on the environmental issues. But then once you get to your specific purpose statement, it doesn't really seem to focus on those environmental issues. That's what all the content is, so I was a little uncertain as to why you didn't have that extra piece of focus in the specific purpose statement that really mentioned that it's really, the environmental benefits that you're focusing on, not just the general benefits of being vegetarian. That seemed like it would be a lot clearer. I thought you had a nice personal example to give yourself some credibility at the beginning. Look, it's clear that you've got a topical method of organization. The second point really just sounds like it's a collection of random data. I do think it needs to be formulated a little bit more so it's a distinct point, not just what experts say. Well, what experts say about what? Tell us what these experts, what the point is that they're making on that point, and then use that as your secondary claim on that. Your transitions are usually clear because you've got a visual that goes with each of those things. I think your internal language could be a little bit sharper on that. The only quote that was specific to the issue of the impact on the environment was from the New York Times early on. All the other sources that you cite later on are basically endorsements of this concept, and I think that there's probably information that came from some of those sites, but it's not being presented as being from those sites. Those are mostly, endorsements. There was maybe one later reference that actually included a quote, and I think that you need to be a little bit more consistent about that. On the visual materials, I thought they were okay. Like I said, mostly they just do transitions between the ideas. The impact of the animal production on the environment, I think, suggests that there's probably a lot more visual material that could explain this. That's the biggest part of the speech, and it's the one that gets the least amount of explanation. We get that conclusionary quote from the New York Times early on, and then we get a little bit more later on. But I'm trying to figure out, well, what is it that goes on? How big an impact it is? You've got some statistical references, for instance, to the how many Americans changing their diet would